Hey, EcoFriends, welcome to the show. Today, we will be discussing one of our 3 topics, water.
And be sure to stay tuned for the next podcast when we'll be discussing air and land. But for now, let's get things started.
So, a main issue on our planet today concerning our oceans is water pollution. Pollution from industries has led to a significant crisis of fresh drinking water.
And how significant is this crisis? Well, 70% of industrial waste is dumped into water bodies, polluting the usable supply. So even if a body of water may not look extremely polluted like the Ganges, the truth is our water is not as clean as we think.
Leaving only 2.5% of fresh water available for humans, fresh drinking water is crucial for the health and well-being of humans everywhere. And I'm very sad to say that many people do not have this access.
Unfortunately, 15 million children under the age of 5 die each year because of diseases contracted through water pollution. That's a pretty staggering statistic.
You know, living in Greenwich, we are blind to these problems, but they still affect us.
Well, how so?
Well, there are many other ways that we pollute our water sources every day. Non-point source pollution, such as runoff from fertilizer and sediments from construction sites, all leach into our water sources, causing eutrophication and eventually hypoxia.
So it's important to not only recognize the point source, but also the non-point source pollution, because usually the non-point source pollution is how we are directly, whether we realize it or not, affecting the water.
Let's not deviate from the point. Factories emit many pollutants, including carbon dioxide, methane, and NOx and SOx. These pollutants hold several problems for our water sources and oceans, including acid rain and ocean acidification.
What basically happens with acid rain formation is gases such as sulfur dioxide are released into the atmosphere and dissolved in the rainwater, creating acid rain.
Wait, is acid rain dangerous for humans?
Yes, Olivia. Acid rain can decay buildings or statues, but when it comes to humans, chances of contracting lung disease, asthma, and heart problems are increased. So it's important to remember, though, that symptoms may not reveal themselves immediately.
It's interesting that all this pollution is occurring, but there's still so many more of our water sources being affected.
What do you mean?
Another key issue concerning our water sources has nothing to do with industry gases, but overfishing.
Oh, now more than ever, fishermen and consumers are feeling the impact of overfishing.
Overfishing, or the exploitation of a certain species, especially in our dynamic ocean, play a crucial role in the well-being of other organisms, including us. Overfishing has been increasing significantly for years due to new methods of catching fish. For example, bottom trawling, where fishermen basically take a big net and drag it across the ocean.
Kind of like clear-cutting a forest.
Exactly. It is beneficial for the fishermen because they get as many fish as possible while exerting the least amount of energy. However, it can completely destroy a fish population and also impact the surrounding ecosystem. On the same note, ocean acidification is another issue that coral reef ecosystems face. Ocean acidification is caused when carbon dioxide dissolves into the ocean, leading to destruction of coral. And coral is extremely important for organisms as it can be used for food, shelter, and protection from prey.
You know, with all this pollution, acid rain, and overfishing, there's still one huge concern with water we haven't touched on.
What's that?
Droughts.
Oh, yikes.
Right? Look at California. It's in its driest period in the past 200 years, and in 2013, it received less rain in any year since it became a state in 1850. So those 38 million Californians are in a tough spot and have been forced to make some changes to their daily lives.
Climate change has led to abnormal weather patterns, like a lack of rainfall. Also, with the associated temperature increases, evaporation and transpiration have become more common.
Well, thankfully, California has set regulations to monitor and control the water supply. They use a statewide water code, and in the past year, they've set a 25% reduction in drinking water use.
But droughts aren't just a national issue. India is currently going through a massive heat wave, which is causing low rainfall levels and record hot temperatures. An 11-year-old girl actually died from spending 4 hours in the 42-degree heat as she went to retrieve water from a pump.
So a heat stroke and dehydration.
Yes, the pump, which was only 500 meters from her house, had a 2-hour wait time.
Oh, and I thought California's drought was bad. So how do we solve these problems? Is it possible to fix California or India's drought?
Well, being that California is a developed state, they have more resources available. For example, they've undergone desalination processes, which extract ocean water, and through reverse osmosis, the previously salt water is made available for domestic use.
So since India doesn't have these resources, they should take advantage of groundwater and aquifers. It's an open, natural resource. However, reaching a cooperative agreement for the use between all citizens can be pretty difficult.
You know, India doesn't have to be alone on this. All of us are sharing this planet, and we shouldn't separate global environmental issues just because they happen to occur in a different country.
That's very true. We need to be unified as a global community.
Well, now that we've discussed the problems related to our oceans and other bodies of water, it's time to take this talk on a more positive walk.
Yeah, well, it's really important that we're able to identify the problems within our world, but also, and probably even more importantly, is to find a solution. So when it comes to fresh drinking water, better technology needs to be made to desalinate the water into usable drinking water so that it's more affordable and energy efficient.
Like in California, companies have come up with ways to incorporate both solar technology and the desalination process to create zero discharge and produce only fresh water instead of the old technique that left almost half of the water in discharge.
And when it comes to overfishing, the best solution might just be to stop. Now, of course, it might be almost impossible to stop these big corporations from fishing, but stricter regulations on when they can fish will help replenish the fish populations and hopefully restore balance back to the ecosystems. Other solutions might be to stop bottom trawling and create more marine protected areas. Basically, in other words, we have to reach our potential for progress.
Now it's time for the next segment, How Much Do You Know? Today we will be interviewing students Sophia Vittoria and Emily Bass in order to see where the public's knowledge is on these important environmental issues.
So basically we're going to ask these two lovely ladies a couple of questions on what we've been talking about today. You girls ready?
Let's do this!
Oh, so eager. All right.
Okay, first question. What is one way to help increase biodiversity in a dammed area?
You could build a salmon cannon.
Yeah, a salmon cannon is a great way to increase biodiversity because basically the way it works is the cannon is used to launch fish, salmon specifically, past the dams because it's very hard for them to travel through. And then they can, once they are crossed, they can populate and it increases their populations and therefore increases biodiversity.
All right, great.
Okay, so second question. Can you guys tell us about the tragedy of the commons when it comes to fishing?
The tragedy of the commons is a theory that when a large group of people shares a mass of land and there's no regulations or restrictions on what those people can do with the land, the resources can be depleted and no one has real responsibility for the upkeep of the land. And when it comes to overfishing, the oceans and water sources can be seen as that massive land, and people don't have regulations on how much of a yield of fish they can catch. So therefore, it's hard to maintain these species because there's so much overfishing.
And to add on to what Sophia said, like all companies want to have competitive market prices, so they try to take in more and more of the resource so that they can charge the least for it and still make a large amount of money.
And that's why they created marine protected areas, so overfishing can be avoided.
Yeah. What a very thorough answer you guys gave. Congratulations, that was really good. You're proving yourselves that you know a lot.
Okay, so to wrap up, our final question is, where is a major crisis occurring in the world due to a lack of safe drinking water?
Well, there's a lot, even in just the U.S.
Flint, Michigan?
Yeah,
Flint,
Flint,
Michigan?
Michigan, California, the drought.
California.
Oh, yeah, the drought in California. What about, can you tell us a little bit about Flint, Michigan, if you have anything?
Sure. Well, when the state of Michigan decided to switch to a different water source, the new water source,
It corroded
the lead
pipes
pipes and the lead,
water, contaminating it.
Yeah, and that's really bad for especially children because it can lead to a lot of infections and lead to life-threatening problems
Yeah.
for
Right,
children.
As well as like behavioral disorders and learning disabilities.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
developmental problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
there-
you guys,
And that's all from drinking water.
yeah.
Yeah.
Serious issues happening in the world and even in our
But I
community.
mean, even more, like, not even more problematic, but equally problematic in California, the drought.
Yeah.
that they don't even have water.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in the news, they just said that, like, counties would be in charge of what to
Yeah, they
do with their
lifted the
water
state regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So that's
Devolution.
showing a sign of progress.
It's
Yeah.
also good that we have such environmentally conscious citizens, such as you two, bright young women, that you are aware of these issues either through the news or through your learning at school. So we have to say that when it comes to the question of how much do you know, I think the answer would be a lot.
A
I think.
lot,
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you so
thanks,
much
guys.
for
Thank you.
participating.
Thank you for having
You're
us.
welcome. So for the next segment, we're gonna discuss, coincidentally, this new rap that was just released by a couple of aspiring young artists about water pollution. You can actually see the music video link on our website if you're listening to us there. And it's a new rap that they just released, and we're gonna play it for you today.
Oh, yeah, it's really great, Mike. Really.
Yeah, it really is. So
Quite exquisite.
check it out because it's really gonna help you learn a lot. Look, if you want to put an end to water pollution, clean it all up, would you take action? Would you conserve? Or just let it happen? Y'all, check it. Water's wasting, reefs weak, gotta combat what we facing. Conservation actions we should be embracing, replacing series of droughts with enough resources, which forces us to keep chasing enough clean water, even though it gets hotter. The lack of rainwater is the cause of our slaughter. We're choking now, everybody's freaking out. The clock's run out, time's up, over, wow.
Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes Corey. Adopt new beliefs. And acid rain keeps pouring from the clouds that are storing knocks and socks. Check what I'm dishing. No love from overfishing. Really matters we stop before resources go plop. Numbers continue to drop. We've got to rally to get water to India and Cali back to the aquifers and be environmental ambassadors.
That was sick.
Well, we covered a lot today.
So it looks like we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on EcoFriends.
Woo!